Everyone dreams about living an uncommon life, but how we define that dream is very different for each of us. And for most, it's a lifelong pursuit. Welcome to the Uncommon Life Project podcast. We're going to introduce you to people who are living that life or enjoying the journey to get there. We're going to also give you some tools, tricks, and tips for starting or accelerating your own efforts to live an uncommon life, a life worth celebrating and savoring. Please welcome your hosts, Brian Dewhurst and Philip Ramsey.
Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Uncommon Life Project, where I'm your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I'm Brian Dewhurst.
Welcome back, B-Dog.
Come on.
Didn't have you in.
It's Friday.
It is. We like to do our podcast on Friday. If you didn't know, we have an amazing guest with us. I want you to introduce him because we got a lot of things to cover.
All right, we have the one, the only Aaron Anderson. He grew up in Clarion, Iowa, graduated from Central College in 2016, has owned Fresh Fit Meals with his partners coming up on 2 years now, and we're going to unpack his story. And for all of you that don't know, Fresh Fit Meals is fast, casual, healthy food to fit your lifestyle. So welcome to the show, Aaron Anderson.
Thanks for having me.
Gosh, don't you just feel good? We're in studio, which is our favorite way to podcast. And I want to start out by giving a shout out to Kevin Stitsworth. That's who connected us.
Oh, good old Kevin.
I know. He's got us like 3 different podcast guests.
He's doing it.
He's dialing it in. So what have you done for us lately? You know, but Kevin has done something, okay? So we're going to get into it. We're going to unpack. You got a lot to unpack, and a huge story that I think is going to really resonate with those people who might be looking at maybe jumping off the proverbial bridge and trying to jump into this uncommon life. We use that analogy. We're financial advisors that really think that you are your best asset, and love that analogy because you do have a parachute on your back, but it's never easy to just stand up on top of that bridge and like jump. You've done that. And not only have you done that, you're thriving, and then you've done that, and then you've also hit some adversity in the way, and then you've worked through that, which is basically everybody's story. But we're going to unpack yours. So where do you want to start? Let's start there.
I mean, might as well start at the beginning of Fresh Fit.
We might as well do that. Aaron, you're right. Let's go.
Start right there.
Let's start there.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, like, say, 2017, I was at Hy-Vee managing for a year. Actually, first off, I was trying to sell insurance for 3 weeks. I did not sell a single thing of insurance. So I'm like, all right, so sales. Like, I love leadership management. So everything I was looking at out of college was like, you need to know how to sell to be a leader. And flipping that script, I don't really believe in that anymore. Fast forwarding a few years. Then I went to management at Hy-Vee, and then LinkedIn actually brought me to Fresh Fit. I'm very much employee-based, kind of a leader style, and it's more about the employees versus myself. Mm-hmm. I made a post about that, and the next thing you know, I got a couple messages, and one was Fresh Fit. So I sat down, interviewed, and got the job. And then I ran that store for 2 years. They didn't feel like they wanted to grow anymore for company-wise, or they weren't growing fast enough for my liking. I was already capped from learning and leadership. Like there
was a ceiling there.
Yeah, I was done. I couldn't make any more money. I couldn't grow anymore until we grew more stores. I was just stuck.
Right.
And I want to keep moving forward. So I ended up actually leaving, going to Winterset Cidery with Nick and Nina Williams, and learned a lot from them and a lot about the cidery business, from brewing to the bar management to the orchard to the lawn care, which is completely out of the realm of what health food was when I was managing Fresh Fit.
But some of the wisdom and principles have to be the same.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Leadership, I think, it really depends on who you are as a person from that end. So who you are is really how you're going to lead. You can still kind of I like taking bits and pieces from everyone and kind of make them my own. And that's what I try to instill in our managers today, really. Then from there, COVID happened. There's always a positive in everything, even though COVID was bad. But, it gave us an opportunity to come in and step in and buy Fresh Fit. And that was freaking scary, let me tell you.
Because it was like the beginning of the whole pandemic. It was 2020.
Walk through the timing of that, because I think, we all can, it's kind of like when the Twin Towers went down, everybody remembers kind of that pivotal moment. And, spring break is where it largely hit in Central America, for COVID in 2020. So kind of walk our listeners through that timing, because I think making big decisions like that in the eye of that storm is pretty profound.
Yeah, so it was actually, we were flying to, me and Nick, we're going to CiderCon There's a cider con, and it's freaking massive.
Wow.
Like me and him.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
It's in Indianapolis, I bet, isn't it?
No, it was in Oakland.
Oh.
It was in Oakland. I think it was December. We're flying out there, and he gets a bunch of Amex emails, and he's like, COVID's not looking great over there. I don't know what's going to happen. Oh. But we ended up going to Oakland, and it was freaking time of our life. It was so many fun stories with Nick and I there. That was December. Get back in January. Cider season right now is kind of fermentations, all that stuff's done. Now we're kind of getting to February, March, and now like it's hitting, and everything's shut down. So I'm like driving to work, and there is literally no one on the road. Mm-hmm. And then by that time, you know, I was still kind of in contact with Fresh, but I never like lost contact with them. Mm-hmm. Just I love everyone there from that end, and they didn't shut down the stores as food, but the revenue from what I was used to was a quarter of what it was.
Dropped off a cliff. Wow. Yeah.
Like a quart, which they are not making money at all. Like they're putting money into it, pumping it to keep it alive. And then, you know, as March, April, that goes all March, April, May, looking at those books, like we didn't have control of it, thankfully. We probably would have sunk or had to find outside investors, which no one would have done that at that time.
Right. Nobody's putting money in anything.
Yeah, nothing.
No one's writing checks into that.
So March, April, May, the previous owners that we bought it from, they had it. And then looking at August, that's kind of our timeline of when we bought it, August 1st of 2020. You know, looking back, I was telling my parents, I told you a little bit ago, Brian, like probably March-ish, I'm like thinking about buying a house. I'm tired of kind of living in an apartment. And I'm also like, man, if Fresh Fit came for sale, I'd probably buy it. Not thinking what's going to happen the next 6 months. Right. I had no idea.
Right. But you're already kind of in the mindset of a big purchase.
Yeah.
A house. Like you're kind of like, all right, I'm ready to move on. Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is it going to be?
That's a good thought. I didn't think about that. But so going into June, I started hearing some like little things on the wall from Becca and John and Angel, my 3 partners, like, hey, things are kind of getting weird here. Like, you know, Matt, was the director of ops for Fresh Fit, so was my direct report at the time. And he's like, he's not really talking to us anymore. I heard he's transitioning to 5-star. We don't know what's going on. They're selling the corporate house in town. They're selling the vehicle. Wow. The Texas store shut down. And then my light bulb just like flickered. Bing! I'm like, huh. So they're getting ready to either like just kind of let it fly or sell it or just let it sink. Or 3 choices right there.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, well, we were going to be on the buying end of this, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then all through this, I'm looking at a house. And then I tell my realtor, or I had an offer on a house. That fell through. 2 days later, this whole thing comes to fruition. And it's funny. Becca's so like non-confrontational. And we're like, Becca, you're the manager right now. Like you have to like tell Matt, like step up. Hey, someone wants to buy Fresh Fit. And she said that. And then while she's texting us, 3 of us on the group chat, she's like, guys, things are happening. I'm like, here we go.
Oh man.
And this is so cool. Middle of June right now.
Right.
So COVID is still there, but the store is starting to rebound a little bit just from revenue. I was still kind of watching.
People were like, I got to get some food.
Yeah.
Like, I need to get out of my house.
Yeah, 100%. And then next thing you know, I jumped on a Zoom call with Brian. That's his name. And he's like, why do you want to buy it? And I'm like, this, and this. He's like, well, I've never sold anything to employees, but I believe you guys. I'm in Texas. Like, there's really nothing left for me. Kind of stepping away from 5-Star, which is their supplement brand and stores. They have like 55, 60 of those locations. Oh. So they're big, so they don't really, not worried about a one-stop store in Urbandale, Iowa when they live in Texas. So that was kind of the writing on the wall there too. And I thought this business, and now I can actually talk about this, I thought it was going to go way, way more than what it was worth. Like, we're like going to have to find money. And
this is like the first time I've ever heard that, by the way. Usually we hear this like, oh, it's going to be way lower than what they actually propose.
Oh,
it's
no.
like, oh my gosh, it's 4 times more than I thought it was going to be. So this was the opposite.
No, complete opposite. Because he sold it to us for a deal. He's like, I want to get rid of this guy. And he's like,
it's a win-win.
Yeah. Like, I don't have to worry about the stress anymore. I'm going to sell it to you for a deal because of COVID. Like, that's just what it is based on the books. This is what I feel like it's worth. I'm like,
deal.
Oh, done.
Where do I hit the deal button?
Yeah. And then we just had to basically find a little bit of money and we were done.
Wow.
So how many people ended up starting with you, like owning?
4 of us. So for my transition, it was, I ran it for 2 years. I actually hired John and Becca for part-time help. Becca left to go get her dietitian degree. And then when I was leaving, John took over. And Angel's been there since day one, since the Raptor was going up. He's basically been our chef for 3-4 years.
Great.
So the 4 of us, and then John was about to go back to hotel industry.
Okay.
He wasn't really liking running like the GM position. He's more of a marketer, which is what he does now for us. And Becca's more direct for contact for dietitian and consults and all that stuff, like really trying to push the health and wellness initiative, one-on-one consultations. And then so Becca came back in as John was leaving for management, and then it all kind of like transitioned backward. Wow. Like to basically everyone kind of falling into the roles of what they're supposed to be in.
Wow.
So it all worked out. So August 1st, 2020, that's when we officially had it. So
you took it over and ran with it.
Yeah, minus the 4 lawyers that told me not to do it.
Of course.
They always count on the lawyers to tell you what to not do.
Nothing bad against lawyers, but
they'll only tell you the potholes that you're going to run into.
Correct.
Never
There's never any blue sky.
No, right. Which maybe that's just what they're trained to do. I don't know. So tell me, how did you come up with the money aspect of it? It's like, hey, it's going to be X amount. We're just going to divide that by 4, and then that's how much everybody's. How did that work?
So basically, Brian was like, hey, you have to come in with. So he like literally gave us this opportunity.
Right.
He's like, hey, you guys need to sit in the game. I get it. You're young. You probably don't have a ton of money. So I'll personal finance for you. And I'm meeting with bankers on the side, like.
Just in case.
Yeah. And I'm like, how do I find money? How do we, I'm like, all the bankers are telling there's no one's going to let you have money because you haven't ran a business. I'm like, I ran this freaking thing for 2 years. The only thing I don't know is the P&L, which I understand because I studied finance too, and I just understand numbers better. And all the bankers are like, it's going to take you at least 60 to 90 days. I'm like, I don't have that. I have 30. And then it's like each day is trickling down. Same with the lawyers. I'm like, this needs to be done by X date. If it's not done, like I'm probably still signing this deal.
Right.
It's like too good to be true. And I'm very gut instinctual, and that's basically what happened. So yeah, we basically came with the money. 3 of us. Becca couldn't put anything yet until later, which she did. So we're all kind of equal in equity now, which is nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, we just had it. We had a little bit of outsourced to bring in, but it wasn't a lot. It was like $20,000 probably, but that was it. We just had to add a working capital, and that's what he asked for, and a down payment, and he personal financed everything else.
Wow.
So we just pay him a monthly fee for the next. We'll probably pay it off actually this year.
Wow.
To get a little more free cash flow.
Really? But yeah, that's great. So August 2020, it's now yours.
2020, yeah.
What's that first day look like? You walk in and be like, all right, guys.
Oh man, I popped a bottle of champagne as soon as I signed that deal. Oh man, it was like.
And so let's talk through, because like the whole house thing never came to fruition, right? Like it just never came. It fell through, and then this deal kind of.
Yeah, I literally told my realtor like, hey, this might be happening. Can't really talk about it, but we might be purchasing Fresh Fit. So sorry. Yeah. Like, he's like, cool. That's cool, dude.
Oh, good.
More important.
Yeah.
Right.
He was a customer. Like he understood.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he was chill about it.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So that was probably really a cool kind of transition to like, okay, we're going to make this big purchase. Now I'm going to make a different purchase, but it's going to be something that's going to actually cash flow.
Yeah.
Winning. And so now you're in August 2020. You pull in, champagne's popped.
Yeah, and so this is what's crazy.
Yeah.
So the business itself was not really making a lot of money yet. So we just kept everyone inside the store a salary. Mm-hmm. And Becca, Angel, and our staff at the time, they didn't like lose any money. Like they stayed. I was not taking any money from business. So I was still not on salary, and I was still working full-time at the cidery. Oh, wow. So here I am, and I didn't tell Nick or Nini any of this before, like probably 3 days prior to like, hey, it's going to happen.
Right.
I didn't know how
it's not worth it.
Yeah, I didn't know how they'd react. At the end of the day, they were super happy for me. And honestly, knowing them, I should have expected that more so. And they probably would have helped me through a lot of the stuff as they just purchased the cidery literally a year before. Mm-hmm. But you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So it was like
kind of protect yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. And I lost my train of thought there.
So you were working for cidery?
Yeah, cidery. So I was doing both for October until what is my last day? Probably like October 17th, middle of October.
Okay.
And I still was not taking any money.
Wow.
And so then I basically just cut myself a really small salary and floated all the way until January. And that's when we could basically really start paying me not a good salary, but a moderate, just a livable one, essentially. So I was pumping in between the cidery and fresh fit, probably 190 to 100 hours a week, like easy.
Holy cow.
Like I'd go to the cidery during the day, come back, work at night at fresh fit, or in the morning early. Like I was
grinding.
It was a grind.
It's interesting though, like the sacrifice that you made probably made the business in itself way more stable. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like if you would have been like, no, I need to make $100,000.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. No. It's going to probably sink. But the fact that you sacrificed and did that 2 job situation, full-time jobs, is the reason why, like in January, it was like, oh, wow, we've got something here. Yep. Like it's starting to turn around.
Yeah, which is exactly what happened. I mean, November, December for like our industry in general for meal prep and health, it slows way down.
Nothing good happens in December with your finances and your diet. Just throw those out the window.
Yeah, gone. Absolutely gone. But yeah, so that's essentially what happened. And January, it's like, cool, we're off to the races and kind of start getting in there and like focusing on things. And
people are recommitted and
right.
Yep. And then actually our biggest time of the year is spring. So like March, April, May, like we're getting ready to like
bathing suit
rock.
Season.
Yeah. Bathing suit season. Exactly.
Let's talk about that. I think it's a good time, a good segue to start talking about the actual product, because what I think is cool, especially, now you have a new dietitian on board, just the blood sugar level that doesn't peak. I'd like to hear that part of it just because I think it's such a cool sales.
Yeah.
A perfect opportunity for you to talk about the product, because when I heard that, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually legit. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go there.
Yeah, so with what we do is just healthy meal prep. So when you walk inside the store, you're going to see over 40 meal options, basically. Grab and go, 90-second meals, you're done. So really the science behind it is we're trying to hit all low glycemic and a lot of gluten-free items. So glycemic index is where it spikes your blood sugar, so your A1C3 levels essentially. People that are diabetic, they don't want that number to go sky high. Mm-hmm. So you'll never get tired after eating. So if you think of Thanksgiving, as you're eating all these mashed potatoes, your turkey, you get really tired and your body gets a little cold.
And everyone chalks it up for the turkey. It ain't the turkey.
It's not the turkey.
It ain't the turkey.
It's all the food you're stuffing in your stomach. So your blood sugar levels are going through the roof because your body's trying to basically process it. Yeah. And your body gets really cold because all your blood's rushing to your stomach. And you get tired afterward. So if you had a big meal or you eat something super sugary, you crash an hour after, it's because your blood sugar spiked. Mm-hmm. Our food is designed to keep it steady. So you never crash. And again, about 3 or 4 hours, you're probably going to be a little hungry again, which is the thought process and premise behind it. You don't want to overeat. You want to eat the right amount.
Right.
So this whole carb connotation, I got to get this out of there. Carbs aren't bad for you. 100% not bad.
Right.
You need them. And that's how your body processes. You can go on the keto diet and I go all day on that stuff too. The keto diet's not great.
Another podcast.
But
this is all for you. It's all, the meal has already been prepped. And what I like about it is they're not super expensive.
No, they're about $8 a piece on average.
That's like affordable. I mean, with inflation and everything now, I mean, I think we're going to be at $8 gas here if we're not careful, right? You know?
Yeah, and we will not raise. I'm very firm on not raising those prices. We raised them a little bit when we took over just to kind of counteract some things we're doing.
Absolutely.
But at this point, we're like, I was looking at averages of nationwide, what everyone else is doing. We were probably $2 or $3 below the nation average. Right. Now we're probably like $1, which is perfect.
Still, right.
Yeah, and I don't want to raise the price unless we absolutely have to. If we don't, so we can survive if we need to.
So where was the location back in 2020?
Urbandale.
Yep.
Yep.
Urbandale. Okay.
And then that's the place that makes the food?
Yep. So we'll have a kitchen. It'll be like a hub and spoke model. So we'll actually open an Ankeny store here in 2022 in spring. So probably within 2 to 3 months. Wow. Actually, literally probably 5 blocks from here.
It'd be really good because this could be good for Brian and I. Swing on over. Don't go to Jimmy John's, Brian. Don't go to Jimmy John's.
Very cool.
And then, so that'll be your second location? Urbandale,
second one.
And then Ankeny.
Yep.
And then, like, what's your trajectory? Like, where are we going? What's Fresh Fit going to be?
We want a lot of things. Really want to kind of go more of a Midwest. Our LLC name is Midwest Meal Prep. So we really want to kind of hit all the Midwest areas. So your Minnesota, your Illinois, your Nebraska.
The I-35, I-80 corridor.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Nice.
So if we hit all of that, that'd be awesome. So we still there's a lot of work to be done to see what we can do with just a hub and spoke model. Is we want that another kitchen, or we'll have to do a centralized kitchen. There's a lot of inner works in that. Or do we franchise? Do we not franchise? It's
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
Yeah, what do you want to do?
Who's helping you through those decisions? Because there are some big decisions that you can make.
Thankfully, there's partners.
Good.
So we all kind of have to agree on certain aspects of it and kind of where we want to go. But when we got into it, there's a few things that we all talked about first. It was, okay, what do we want from this? We want to help people. That was the first thing. Cool. We're not in it for the money. We are, but aren't. It should never be the overarching principle. Right. If you're in it for the money, you're in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, what's the byproduct?
Byproduct, 100%. So if you're doing good, you're going to get rewarded by doing good. And that was our thought process. And then the second piece was, how big do we want to grow this thing? 50, 60, 70 stores. We want to blow it up. We want to help people and change their lives. It's just our goal.
Right, because the more stores and locations you can open, the more people you can help.
Correct.
Right. Yep. Another byproduct.
Right. So, and that was the overall process. And so as we kind of teeter down the line, I mean, over the next few years, we'll see what happens. But probably 2023, we'll let both stores just kind of run and just see how it goes. 2024 is probably when we'll start really attacking everything.
Growing. Right.
So just let it sit for a little bit and just understand the operations.
Because in growing, there's a scaling issue too, right? And I'm sure that you've faced some adversity up to this point. Like, it's not all just canned cupcakes and rainbows. So let's talk through some of those transitions, and how did you get through those of like, hey, we've hit an obstacle. How do you then transfer into the obstacle and then trying to overcome it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So a lot of our obstacles is, one, food on the shelf, and two, people. People are always obstacles.
Right. People are always obstacles. Brian's like, yes, amen.
Yeah, amen. They are. But they're also your most important asset. So
there you go.
It's difficult.
There you go, Aaron.
But it's not like I can't control you, can't control me. It's that piece and trying to work through people and let them understand the vision and process of everything.
It's beautiful.
But it's difficult. It's probably the hardest piece. I always tell, why this is one of the best analogies. Why do the people that are managing make the most money? Because they're dealing with people all day. And if you can control people, and not really control them, but like get them to do what you want them to do, and
you can lead well, right?
Them and the mission that you're trying to do, that's why they make the most money in the day, because it's the hardest piece about business. It's numbers easy, operations, whatever, people freaking hard.
Yes.
Hard.
Yeah. But it's great too, right? Like,
yeah. It is. There's a big camaraderie. Like when we do our Christmas party, or I'll probably start doing like quarterly parties, stuff like that with a team, just getting together. It's a blast. It's a lot of fun. Right. There's nothing better than getting everyone together and having a good time.
Right, because you have a common goal.
Yeah,
you're all
exactly.
going towards.
Yeah,
so cool.
But yeah, so food on the shelf. That's probably the biggest obstacle right now.
You gotta have stuff to buy.
Yeah, exactly. Like Thursday, Friday, our shelves get depleted, which is good, as we try to do a zero waste method. So we don't have a ton of waste unless there's a snowstorm, and it kind of throws off the numbers and pars. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we are absolutely destroyed. Like we had 250 people in the store Sunday.
Wow. Getting ready for the week.
Yeah, getting ready for the week. And then Monday, this is a really bad week. So wasn't in on Sunday. I just want to see how we'd go. Sometimes you have to like kind of, let's just see, let's see what happens. Not the best decision. Learned a little bit from that, but also cool. I had to be up at 4:30 in the morning on Monday, and I need to be in the kitchen and start prepping, or not prepping. I don't cook anything, but plating everything to get it on the shelf. And we plated 1,200 meals in 6 hours.
Wow!
And their shelves were full by noon. Right. So, but we were
all hands on deck.
Yeah, it was. We had 25% of our inventory on the shelf.
Wow!
So going into Monday morning, which is another freaking crazy day.
Right.
So that's our biggest test right now. So it's getting probably honestly more people in on Sunday, prepping a little bit more, working a little bit faster, jumping in there. So been in the kitchen a lot lately. But that's
not a horrible problem to have either.
No.
And the fact that you'd have a solution. No, it's probably not the forever solution. Sustainable solution, but sustainable.
Are you guys aren't shipping then? It's all kind of like the Papa Murphy's type.
Yeah, we'll do local delivery. We have a guy, Peter. He does all of our delivery stuff. So we pay him. We eat the delivery cost. So I don't want to have people pay for delivery, but it's an $80 minimum within a 50-mile radius right now. So basically, they'll order online delivery. He'll come in to get them at 3 o'clock. Out the door they go. Deliver at your doorstep from 3 to 8 p.m. and done.
Wow.
So
it's very cool.
And how far out can you like because I'm fresh fit. There's no preservatives. This isn't like a lean cuisine.
Yeah.
How long do your meals kind of last, or what's kind of the shelf life? Can I buy 6 days out? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, typically 4 to 6 days is the shelf life of it. We'll have the dates on the side of the package, soon to be on the label, and that's really, it's fresh food. I mean, people do freeze them. I won't say they don't. We're not going to personally freeze them, but you can freeze them. So I have people that come in and grab 20, like, we're just going to freeze these for the next couple weeks. Cool, go for it.
Right.
It's your decision at the end of the day. It may not taste as well, but everyone else says that it tastes good, just the same. So it's like, cool.
Yeah, you do you. Yeah. Just keep buying them.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, it's still helping people, so it's cool.
Right. What do you think the biggest thing that you've learned, or what would you tell your younger self before you got into this? What would you be like if you could sit down in a room? You have 3 minutes. What would you say?
Wow. Be patient and stay true to yourself. That's really, don't change. That's really what it is. Yeah. I've probably been the same person, mentally, as I'm looking back. This is what's weird. So growing up, this is a fun side story. Growing up, you probably looking back now, you're like, oh, now that makes sense why my brain was ticking that way. That's where I am at now. Mm-hmm. It's super strange. Growing up, I would have this army thing, but I'd always be in front kind of leading my friends, and then I'd always have a store shop, and I'd be the person in the shop. And now it's looking back, I'm like, that's a little bit weird, because literally what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So that was when I was 8 or 9 years old.
That's great.
27, almost 28 now. But looking back on that, it's just stay true to yourself and be patient. That's literally good. At the end of the day what it is.
Right.
Don't change.
How are your parents or your support system and all this? Because you're a young guy. To go and just bite off a business, in your 20s is no joke. Yeah.
So my mom is very, very supportive. My dad's a little more pessimistic. So we butt heads a little bit every now and then, and I'm very optimistic. Mm-hmm. So they're always going to be supportive. They always tell me, we'll be supportive of what you do with your life. We don't care what you do. Just go do it. Have fun. It's your life. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my instill in myself too. It's go have fun, do what you want to do. It's your life at the end of the day. But yeah, super supportive. So they're happy for me. So.
It's huge to have a support system.
Yeah.
You need it.
What would you say to somebody who's going to the proverbial bridge, looking over and thinking oh man, because
we're talking about starting a business.
Starting a business. Yeah. That's a really good plug there, Brian.
Just throwing that out there.
Because I think that's good. I think the notion is to be wow, with conditions the way they are in the world, with my circumstances the way they are, probably not the best time to buy a business. What I love about you, it was COVID. Ain't nobody's buying businesses.
No.
And you ain't nobody's going to give you any money either. No. So it probably wasn't the most ideal book answer to buy a business. Although maybe emotional time to buy a business. Maybe the book answer actually really is. Does that make sense? And so what would you say to that person who's just leaning in to say oh, is this a good time? Is it not a good time? What's happening in the economy? There's all the ways they get in their head. What advice would you give them?
Well, I had 4 lawyers tell me not to buy the business. And I was like, it's not your money. Basically, lack of better words.
Write the deal. Write the deal up.
Just do it. You're working for me. You're not
because you can always go find a job. You had a good job. You were making stuff. And I think too, the other side of it, I love with your stories, it's food.
Yeah.
People got to eat. Mm-hmm. More people are eating out than they are in.
Yep.
I think the data suggests that. And at the end of the day, it's not like you were selling widgets from China. You're selling fresh food.
Literally.
So
honestly, it's just jump. You gotta have a calculator risk. For me going into it, I already knew how to operate it and operate the store and run the store. I did it for 2 years, and I grew it 30% from just doing that and not having control of the money. So I had a little bit of a head start on a lot of people, or just maybe start from the ground up. But still, the same principle. You just got to do it and kind of grind away. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. There's going to be frustrating days. There's going to be days where you just want to lay in your bed all day, which I have those days. I do. I'm I do not want to get up. I'm not going to move. See you guys.
Yeah.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Right.
Because I'm naturally introverted too. So it's when I hit my threshold of social limit. I talked about 80 people a day. I learned that yesterday and the day before. I'm talking 70, 80 customers.
You're tapped out.
I'm done. I'm getting annoyed, frustrated. Like, that's who I am. So, and I always embrace that piece. But yeah, that's good. Just do it.
It's funny because like you do take, and this is something that Brian and I do, and we own a business called the Uncommon Wealth Partners. And what we do is we don't just let somebody just jump off and start down this uncommon path unless we see that the history that they've had is leading up to this point. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
of like,
that's perfect.
You have done this. You have this experience. You have this. It's not like, and I'm going to go open a miniature golf. Like what? You don't have you've only done that once.
Yeah.
So there is something about your past that's super powerful that gives you and equips you for the future endeavors and activities that you're going to do. So what I love about you, especially that little story of like, I was always the guy in the shop selling things.
Literally. We play like we'd call it like Star Wars shop. And so I'd be like selling Star Wars widgets or my friends and like.
But it ends up being more of a calculated risk, right? Yes. Because you were working at Fresh Fit. Yeah. Then you went to the cider business and then you knew how to kind of apply all those stuff. And even before that, the Hy-Vee situation of just managing people.
That's where I learned how to manage.
Right.
Like a little bit, but I learned tooth and nail how to manage, get people to do what you want them to do. And first off is getting them to trust you.
Absolutely. And so all this stuff has now led you to where you're at now, which then makes the sky the limit. And every day you get to go do what you love to do. Yeah. Reason why you're on the show. Don't you know? Okay. What's your closing thoughts about anything? You can say anything.
Closing thoughts about anything.
Can't wait for this actually.
Man, put me in a tough spot here, Philip. Closing thoughts would probably say, just say my sweatshirt, be relentless. But really, it's
a good one.
Just get after it, honestly. Like, go do what you want to do. Don't be scared and jump, really.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's what you got to do if you want to see. Success is defined different ways. But for me, success is kind of doing what I want when I want and helping people. So whatever your definition of success is, go do that.
Go do it. Gosh. Such a good closer. Don't really have anything else to say. I'm so grateful you took time to hang out with us. I'm also excited just to see where your business goes. Keep serving people. You're doing such a good job, not only serving the people around you, but also leading the team. And so it's encouraging for me just to see how young you are and what you're creating because it's going to be awesome.
Aaron, if people want to learn more, how do they find you guys?
Yeah, so you can go to freshfitmeals.com. That's everything on the website. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And everything's on there. So we're stop at the store on Hickman or Aiken when we open here.
Come say hi. Get a meal.
I'm not too shy. Or 20.
Or 20.
Be healthy.
Right. All right. Well, thanks for your time. You've been listening to the Uncommon Life Project. I've been your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I'm Brian Dewhurst.
Tune in until next time. Enjoy your life. Go be uncommon and just jump. Let's go.
Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.
That's all for this episode of the Uncommon Life Project. Brought to you by Uncommon Wealth Partners. Be sure to visit uncommonwealth.com to learn more about our services. Don't miss an episode as we introduce you to inspiring people who are actively pursuing an uncommon life.